So today we have Rohan Marley, the father, the visionary, the CEO, the president, the gun guy, and the son of the late, great Bob Marley. Thank you for coming to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, give thanks.
So first, I just want to ask you, since this is Coffee Chat and you own Marley Coffee, congratulations on that. What made you decide to actually get into the coffee business?
Well, what happened was back after I left college in 1995, um, I was trying to figure out life, because I was always an athlete. I always wanted to. But after that, I realized I was getting older and I was dabbling into getting into the music business. Not really the music business, but really just going around my brothers and learning about myself and Rastafari and because when I left Jamaica, I became isolated, just living a different life in America, college, and these things. So I wanted to kind of get re in touch with myself and my brothers, and during that time, I met a woman, and then we had children together. And the woman, she's a superstar, right? And then I was like, wow, I need to find something to do, basically. Because I was still trying to figure out if I'm going to play soccer, if I'm going to be an athlete, what am I going to do? So she kind of geared me toward that, like, all right, I got to grow up, and then I ran into a piece of land in Jamaica, and from the land, when I was on the land, I purchased the land, and the land had coffee on the land. And I asked the community if they knew anything about coffee. They told me yes, they've been farming coffee all their lives. So I said, well, all right, we're in the coffee business. So in 1999, I started to learn about coffee, learn about from seed to cup, like how you plant coffee. I had to go and buy the seedlings. I had to learn to nourish the earth so the food can plenish. I had to learn this whole sustainable movement because the community now starts to depend on the land. And then the whole farming business, as a small farmer, not producing enough, you don't really get the end result where you get into really on the retail space, So for me to be able to be sustainable, I had to do more with the coffee instead of just a raw material, because other persons were doing it, and I figured, why can't I do it, So instead of just selling the cherries to the big guys, and they'll do the processing and roast it and package it, I tried to figure out a way how I could get into that business. So, I failed a few times because I couldn't produce enough. And then in 2000, from that time, figuring out life, trying to find out what I'm going to do, starting a business, moved to LA, started the Tough Gun Clothing, blah, 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 trying to figure out life still. I moved to Ethiopia in 2007.
Wow.
When I was living in Ethiopia, someone said, what am I doing in Ethiopia? I said, well, I came home. He says, no, you're Bob Marley's son. Do you sing? I said, no, I don't sing, but I have a coffee farm. He said, a coffee farm? I said, yeah. He says, well, do you know that Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee? I said, really? And then he started to tell me about coffee in Ethiopia, the types of coffee, the origin of coffee, and the rightful name wasn't Arabica. It was more Ethiopica, right? So Ethiopica. So I said, well, all right. That was my first inclination that I want to tell the world that Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. Part of my just more enthused about getting into the coffee now, and still trying to find a way to suffice the farmers, because they need to get paid every 2 weeks, and I got to pay them out of my pocket. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this, because I got a family now I'm raising, and this and that, trying take care of yourself. You only have a little bit of money. So the idea then came when in Ethiopia. Then I went to a monastery. I saw the monks, which I went to this monastery 7 years prior. Then this 7 years later. But the reason I was in Ethiopia was really a sabbatical thing, and trying to find my own self again, and trying to learn things from the roots. And if I say who I am, I have to go to the root to learn from it. I didn't want anyone to tell me. I wanted to learn for myself. So that's why I'm in Ethiopia. So being at the monastery now and learning that the monks, they were also doing their own little thing, growing coffee on the monastery and processing coffee. So I asked the monks, I said, I didn't know that the church dealt with coffee. He says, yeah. You see the priests, you see the people out there, you see this, that, and the third. The roofs are leaking. We have coffee. We trade coffee, you know, but we have it. He says, this one drinks coffee, the Americans drink coffee, the Muslims drink coffee, the Christian drinks coffee, everybody drinks coffee, and we have it. So I said, wow, okay. I said, well, if the church can do it, I can do it. I go back to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and I hear on the radio that the Ethiopian government has kind of banned Starbucks from really doing more. They stopped everybody because they want to create a commodities type of system in Ethiopia, right, for the coffee, because everybody was just buying coffee like on the black market per se, but it was the best coffee in the world. One person wanted to own the name Yugochafe, which is a region in Ethiopia. Like they want to trademark it's like trademarking Kingston. Like you can, you know? so, so the Ethiopian government's like, no, we're gonna build our commodity system and start to put coffee on a even scale so it's fair to all the farmers. Well, I was like, well, wow, you mean to tell me that the biggest coffee company in the world don't own a coffee farm? At the time they didn't. I said, I own a coffee farm. I said, you know what, I have an idea. I called this guy that wanted to invest some money into, like, you know, the whole farm in Jamaica. I said, listen, man, because I couldn't get a license to export from Jamaica anyways, I was too small. I said, listen, man, you know what I'm gonna do? Here's what we're gonna do. I called him on the phone from Ethiopia. I says, hey man, I said, do you know who my father is? He says, yes, Bob Marley. So I says, yes. And you know that he's a universal man, right? He says, yes. So I say to him, because I'm in Ethiopia right now, you know? So I say to him, you know that I'm also universal? He says, all right, Rohan, what are you trying to say? I said, listen, here's what we're gonna do. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. Ethiopia is the birthplace of Rastafari. Ethiopia is the birthplace of Christianity. Ethiopia is the birthplace of civilization. Ethiopia is the birthplace of Haile Selassie I. I said, you know what? The birthplace of Marley Coffee is going to start in Ethiopia, and I'm going to become a coffee company instead of just a coffee farmer, right? So then I came back to Los Angeles, where I was doing Tough Brown Clothing. I created that whole thing, got into a few stores, but you know, I didn't have enough money to further it. But I had all these names and artwork that I had in the clothing. So I stripped all the artwork from the clothing and I put it on a coffee bag. and then I started to name the coffees, because every time you come up with something, someone writes you, oh, we own that name, we own this name, we own that name. I said, well, really? I said, well, all right. I said, you know what? I'm going to call the Ethiopian coffee One Love because it's Ethiopia. It's a single origin, and it's the birthplace of love, birthplace of civilization, and as well one of my father's hugest songs, you know. And then I said, well, all right, I'm gonna call the darker roast Buffalo Soldier. I'm gonna call the espresso Lively Up. Those are all song names, right?
Yeah, I know.
Right, thank you. And I'm gonna call the decaf Simmer Down.
I mean, that made a lot of sense though. Like, I'm listening, like that goes. Like,
yeah, and then because now I go back into Jamaica to tell the farmers, I say, look, we did it. This was 2009 now. Created the packaging, and so the Jamaica government, they banned me from bringing coffee into the country because they were coffee producing country, and it wasn't Jamaican coffee. Because I didn't have a license to export from Jamaica. Now I created a international company, but not with just sourcing coffee like a coffee company, like a Starbucks would, you know? So I said, well, you know what? I can't, this doesn't make any sense because my story is about my farm, you know? So I had to go to Jamaica. I found some guys that were doing it on a way bigger scale than myself. And at the time, I certified my farm organic. I also started to source a certain type of coffee, fair trade, sustainable coffees, Rainforest Alliance, all these different qualifications to care about the whole sustainability movement from a story perspective. And after that, so I went to Jamaica. I found these guys called coffee traders, and they were practicing the Rainforest Alliance practices, you know, in regards to how they take care of the plant. So I did what? I partnered with them. So when I partnered with them, I said, listen, it don't make sense having 100% of nothing. I'd rather have something of something. So I partnered with them, and that was able for me now that I created a Jamaican company that was already doing a huge amount of farming in Jamaica. I was able to get the license for Marley Coffee Jamaica to being able to export coffee, which is the number one coffee, the Blue Mountain coffee. And I introduced that coffee to like, I started out in 2 stores, Cup and Coffee at Whole Foods. Hey, please try my product. Going to all of the trade shows in Anaheim for like 8 years, selling coffee. Hey, this one going to grocery store, meet with the people. Yeah, okay, you're Bob Marley's son. Oh, we'll give you a conversation because we love your father.
Yeah.
But now, what do you have? So I had to present
in the conversation.
Yeah, so I had to present. They gave me a conversation. They opened the door, right? So I said, "Okay, no, thank you, Daddy, for the legacy and the respect. Now I gotta build on the legacy." So I walked in with the product. I had my story, like I just told you the story, and obviously the product I sourced is all A1 coffee, so it's very good coffee. And I was able to get into the stores. So I started with 2 stores. By 2013, from 2009 to 2013, I end up in 13,000 stores.
13,000?
Yes, but it wasn't also
internationally.
Yeah, but that sounds good. But it wasn't also dandy on the business side.
Really?
because I was working with some guys that were like, I didn't have any money, so I had to kind of build a stock company, and the guys that beneath it were doing their own thing, and I didn't understand business, so I'm learning 2 different businesses at the same time. So anyway, build the brand, and now, greatly enough, all that stuff has been cleaned up and everything. I did tell my family though in the beginning, I say, family, I'm going to create Marley Coffee. But it's going to be my face and my signature on the bag. I say, if it works, it's a family business. But if it fails, you can blame me. Well, it ended up working. And now, after all those years, my family came in. I had a little conflict with some of my partners. We parted ways. My family took over the business. Now we partnered up with some of the guys that I knew from the early parts. And now the family really controls Marley Coffee. And I'm a director of, and I'm a director of I'm a director of all of the family business. So I'm not really now at today's time. I'm known as the founder, and I've gone on to founding other things. So because at a certain level, you plateau, right? In regards to like, there's greater people doing the things that you started, right? There's people that have been doing it for thousands of years. Yeah. But it's nice when you can build yourself into a space and be accepted by the community. The coffee community is very small. And when you do that, I mean, there's coffees from all over the world. There's more coffees than there's wine, and they have more notes. Coffee is like 3 times the notes that are in wine. So when you're able to create that, obviously, coffee is coffee. But what you can do is go to different regions, you get different taste profiles. So but that's the coffee, and that becomes a cycle, right? So me as a creative mind, and always into creating things and build on them and expanding on them, because for me now, I'm more into now. I created a product. I'm more into like building the house now. Like I'm no more, and so I can have the coffee, the tea, the this, the that, at our location, but it gives me a right to do that because that was now coffee is a stepping stone to get into cafes and to get into restaurants and get into more things because it's now we're in the food and beverage space. Yeah. So that's where my mind is. And that's how now I ended up being a part of this hotel group in Mexico where I've launched a Marley Beach House just last year in July. And that's more of like it's like a Nikki Beach type of vibe, like one of those vibe. And then from that concept, it's morphing into like the Marley Beach House Hotel, Yeah. So the whole, the idea of it. So it's the first one. So it's in concept stage, of course, because nothing works in the first year. It looks good, but you still got to build it. There's still kinks, and it's never perfect until a time because that's just life,
I seen that beach house. I was like, "Ooh, that's nice." Like I was looking when I was researching you. I looked on
Yeah.
the page, Instagram page. I was like, "I gotta go." I was thinking about we're in a pandemic, but I was thinking about going to Mexico because they're still open. So I was like,
Yeah.
if I like when I interview him, I could tell him like, "Oh, I went to your beach house." So it would be.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
I'm definitely going to make sure I go there when I go to Mexico again.
Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you definitely did. Yeah, you really did. I appreciate that. With all that being said about coffee, do you actually drink coffee? Like, do you have a coffee routine?
I do. I'm always drinking coffee.
Oh, really?
I'm always drinking coffee.
So you drink coffee like all day? Like that's your thing?
Yeah, that's my thing. Coffee. I drink. Yeah, I like coffee. I love coffee. I do. I didn't used to drink coffee though. I had to learn, but I learned about drinking coffee in the Blue Mountains. You know, I never was a coffee drinker because in Jamaica we grew up drinking tea.
That's
right?
What I put.
Yeah, and but in theory, in the 1700s, Jamaica was producing 33 million pounds of coffee each year. So coffee has always been an industry there. But it's when like this whole tea movement came with England to being that they controlled India, so they wanted to sell more teas and stuff. So they kind of blocked Jamaica from producing the coffee, and they started to drive the tea market.
Yeah.
So that's how come that small country suffered from coffee producing because the European countries blocked them because if they wanted to, their tea movement.
That makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about that because I'm like, aren't they owned by the British? So why they would have tea more than coffee?
Tea.
That's what I would think.
See, and yeah, so, but before the British came in, you did. So, like for instance, a lot of third world countries produce coffee.
Yeah.
A third world per se. What they call a third world. I mean, in South America, there's a lot of coffee producing countries. Brazil is the largest coffee producing country in the world. There's Guatemala, there's Nicaragua, there's Costa Rica, there's Peru, and there's Colombia. A lot of Mexico produce coffee. Honduras produce coffee. A lot of coffee places. Panama have coffee.
All right. Well, on coffee. So I was doing a lot of research on you because, first I had to do the coffee because this is coffee chat. So when I was watching Taste of Marley, I know what you said it hasn't came to America yet, but when I was watching Taste of Marley, I saw that you said like your father is a Gon, and you're a Gungite. I don't know if
Gongite.
What can you tell me exactly what that is?
All right. So the gong, right?
Okay.
You know what the gong is?
Like gong.
Yeah. So but right? But the sound of the gong resonates, right? It goes gong. So it's a really powerful sound, right? So when in Jamaica, growing up, my father got the nickname Tough Gong.
That makes sense.
So that's kind of Tough Gong is like a rugged leader, like the gong. He's the king, right? In soul and spirit, right? So Gongites, like Israelites, you dig? It's the same meaning. So we're Gongites now that we follow our father's soulful ways and the spiritual ways of him.
Oh.
And the goodness of him, because no man is perfect, but you take the good from every man. That's what you lead from. You don't lead from the negative, you lead from the positive. So we're Ghanaites and we deal in that positive realm because that was the ultimate way our father tried to live his life, in that closest as possible to the Creator's ways, which is Haile Selassie the first. Mm-hmm. So as close as possible to our interpretation of how we see man on earth and how we should live. So we call him the Gon, and we're the Gonites because we emulate the way of eating, some tradition, and then still the spiritual way. So that's the Gonite.
You give really good advice. Like I'm listening to this, but I'm like taking okay, I'm gonna take the good out of people now.
You must. Why would you? So people are people. Like you wouldn't want someone just judge you for your bad ways when you're better, because the good always outweigh the bad, So you wouldn't want someone to judge you because you made one bad mistake for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, you have to, and you have to do the same.
That makes sense. What would you say is like the best advice you ever got? It could be business, related, anything. Like, what's the best advice you think you ever got?
Oh man, I have so many best advices.
You can give them to me.
I get best advice
I need
every day.
them.
Let me see. Okay, let me tell you one my father gave me. When I was a little boy, I used to give a lot of trouble. Trouble like I do what I want, right? Like I do what I want. If I'm rude, I'm naughty, I say what I want. I I curse when I want to curse. I do anything I want. I
When you
call the
were
police
a kid?
station, tell them bad words. Yeah,
Wow.
I call the police station, tell them bad words and stuff like that. I was rude. So my father once said to me, if I give any more trouble, then I'm not his son.
Oh, wow.
But that was one of the final things he said to me. One of the last before I ever saw him again. So growing up as a man, as a child, growing up to become an adolescent, teenager, etc., I was trying to figure it out. What do you mean by that? How can my father say that to me? I mean, when he said that to me, I felt that way right then and there. So what my father talking about? Like,
Yeah.
what my father just say? You know, like what? Like I'm like that, you know, like my father can say that. You know what I mean? But what he was trying to say was, listen, if you're my son, you got to be like me. Who else are you getting your advice from? Where you learn that?
Yeah.
Like who taught you that? I'm your father. Like you learning from someone else's father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
Yeah.
listen, legend. So that what that leads back to the creator, because when you learn from your father, you want to know where he gets his teaching from, and then that's so Rastafari principle, and that's how Ethiopia come into my life, because now what my father has given me, I also must learn on my own to follow the father's way, so I can also be a father and lead by example. So that's what really that message to I was, is, and still goes on each day.
How was it like growing up as like Bob Marley's your dad?
Let's see. Well, I live in Spanish Town. I have to. Sometime I get up and I go hunt bird. I make a slingshot. I hunt bird. I walk around the community. I used to pick up bottles and I'll sell the bottles and buy rice and flour and I'll cook that with my friends. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then take a taxi. Then I take a bus. Then I take another bus just to get to my school. Then I have to. My mother gave me $6. Out of that $6, $4.50 is my bus fare to go to and fro, and a part of that $4, the other part is my lunch money. Like I gotta eat, but you know I'm a little boy, so I'm gonna along the way I'm gonna try and buy this and buy that. So you end up running out of money all the time. So I have, so that's what it's like. Yeah,
You
it's
go,
Bob's
you
son.
go
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's Bob's son. Yeah, man.
like
Like that. Bob's son. Yeah, man. Yes, you. You look like your father. Yeah, that's how it's like. It's not. It's not like oh, Bob Marley's son. No, no, no. My Bob's son. Mom, youth, you good? Yeah, mom, I know your father. Like, yeah, your
that was
father wouldn't. You know, it's like your father wouldn't like that. You know,
it.
that's what it's like.
So that wasn't social media. If social media was then, it'd probably be a lot different.
If social media was then, Jadno, I would be in a lot of trouble more.
You will always be on TNZ, all those channels.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you like been in the industry for a while. So what motivates you? Like I know you keep saying like, you kept trying to find yourself or you kept thinking
No,
like
that find myself means growing as a man and learning without being taught. You know, you have to now learn from within your mind. So it's finding yourself is becoming one within oneself. So that's what I mean when I say finding myself. Believing in my thoughts and knowing that I can create anything I see, just like any other man can. So, but that's a thing that you have to bring your mind and your heart together and be able to manifest that word sound. So that's what I mean like that. But being what keeps me motivated is really my is day to day life and giving thanks for the creator because he brings opportunities to me by just from the thoughts. Like, I say, wow, I love to do that. And, oh, that's good. And then someone brings it, hey, Rohan, there's an opportunity here. You should take a look at it. And I say, wow, I was just thinking about something. And then it happens. And then I go, I look at it. I like the person, and then that motivates me to create something from nothing.
Looking on your page and things, I see like you're really close to all your brothers. And like, well, I don't know about all of them, but I see like them on your page. How was it during like the pandemic? Like, would you guys ever be able to see each other?
I mean, not as much because we live close, but yet still the whole pandemic thing. So everyone kind of we talk, when we talk, and but the nieces and nephews they always come around. So it's like seeing my brother. It's like but we're more inward people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we nest.
Yeah.
We stay home and we eat so. But we normally see when we went to the pandemic, we're always together playing soccer together. But now, pandemic, we became like it, like we be, we're stay at home people now.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
Like we became we became it.
Yeah. I think that's like the world. Like I'm really ready for this to be over at this point. Like at first I'm like, oh, I get to stay at home all the time. But then I'm like, I want to travel. Like New York is getting cold. And I'm like, I want to leave now. Like it was cold.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know one thing that I love that I really wouldn't want to do again. You want to know?
Yes.
I love New York.
Don't say nothing bad about New York.
But I just can't ever live in the cold again.
I
lived there for 7 years just recently, and I can't manage the cold.
Why? It's like it's just too cold. You just don't like. That makes sense.
I can't manage the cold. So I love New York, but I don't think I could live there full time again, like that. In the cold, I couldn't.
I lived in New York and moved to the South. I came back. And I was just happy to wear coats. Like I have like a clothing line. Well, I have like a clothing line. So it was like the fashion industry. So that's why I was like,
you're happy to wear clothes. Me, I like being warm, like by the sun.
I'm gonna send you some swim trunks. We got swim trunks. I'm gonna send you some.
Done deal. Perfect.
Okay. So just to wrap it up, what could we look forward to seeing from you in 2021?
Well, I'm creating this collection, this line, this lifestyle brand, RMBH 18.01, which really is just me being inspired by the beach house to create this type of luxury beach type lifestyle line, So that's kind of what I'm working on, RMBH 18.01, and there's a story behind why I named it that and stuff. So it's too long to tell you, but next time I'm gonna tell you more about it. So I'm looking to create a merch line built around the hotel, and also create like a lifestyle line from the same concept of the beach house. It's because people come there. I'd love for them to have a T-shirt or something to say that they have been in Rolling Beach House in Puerto Morelos, which is a nice fishing village in between Cancun and Playa del Carmen. So you can learn about that at RohanMarleyBeachHouse.com, but it's a beautiful area. And that's what's to come for myself, is to create that more and to build upon that idea that I just told you on.
Right? Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Is there anything else you want to tell the viewers?
No, not really. I think I said enough.
If you come to New York, you can always stop by.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Check out my son Nico's. He's doing this thing called Line X Wellness, and my daughter Sayla, she's now getting ready to launch a single in February, as well as she's taking over this store in Lower East Side, building out another installment. So she's very creative and she's a model, and so she's getting back to the things that she loves to do. So that's what's coming up.
Oh, Lower East Side of New York. She's gonna be here.
Yeah, she's down there. She lives in New York, but she's there not. She's very, New York, very creative person. You have to, especially in your line of work, her line of work. So she's there, but she's gonna do an installment in February while she launches her song around her whole idea. So she's doing that. So that's to come.
That's gonna be cool. I'm definitely gonna look out. I'm definitely going. Anything to get me out the house in this pandemic, I will definitely be going down there.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to see that. But thank you so much for giving me time. If you ever come to New York, I'll be happy to have you here. We can sit and chat and drink some coffee. Maybe you can bring some Marley coffee for us to try.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much. Happy New Year. You have a good year.
Rastafari. Blessed.